and whatever. But in that remote viewing issue, when they're talking about the house, I could see the house in era other than they were walking in
Okay.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
I would go back 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
Now, when they had other groups on and they were going to investigate a residence in Pennsylvania or New York, there was a group that had told me, okay, da-da, and I started describing the outside of the building before they even told me which one they wanted to do, which is kind of freaky to me. And I'd walk in, and one house I remember looking over to the side, and the house had had a fire like 50 years earlier, and I could see all the burnt timbers. And they said, well, what about this? So they called the owner over, and the owner came over to that part of the house. They said, oh, you know, there had been a fire here like 50 years ago. And George Lopez and the owner go, oh my God, Nancy, how can you do that? I said, you know, I'm slipstreaming into a different era, but I don't know how I can do that. And it kind of freaks some people out, but you know, I've done it so many times now over the years. I'm not the only one that's done it because other people don't do it yet. But you have done it by driving your vehicle. You're driving
That's,
into an
yeah,
area and you slipstream into a different time. And you know, it can freak you out just a little bit. To me, it's very amusing.
yeah. I mean,
I
I
get,
remember, I remember when it first happened. Oh gosh, and it was just as if you. I mean, I was driving along, and you know, as you are, and all of a sudden, I was just in the middle of a field with all big, massive haystacks around me, and I could see tractors, you know, old-fashioned tractors, horses and carts going past me, and I was driving along thinking, what the hell am I looking at here? You know what I mean? Because it just,
I do.
you know, you just think to yourself, how on earth have I got here? You know, and what is this? What is happening here? Um, but I think because not necessarily frightened, but definitely sort of freaked me out a little bit. But not frightened in a good way, in a good way, in a good way.
Well,
No.
when I do the review and I'm sitting in my chair, you were in a vehicle that was on the
I'm
road.
not,
I would go, oh,
yes, I mean, you can imagine, can't you? It's
blank,
like,
blank.
yeah, yeah, you know, it's like, you know, come back to reality quick. Come on, I know that because I'm not.
Does it worry you? I
Sorry.
love this. I love this. I'm thinking I'm almost in that space with you, and I see this old-fashioned tractor to my left behind me as you drove past it. It was really not rusted, but really black and
Yeah,
rusted. And I'm thinking to myself, if I had seen that, my next thought would say, I'm here. Are they here with me,
I know.
behind me, that I'm driving this? And how soon can I get out of this and get on the main road before I hit a red light that I can't see while I'm here?
Yeah,
Is this that Twilight Zone moment? Boop, 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 boop,
yeah,
boop, boop.
absolutely, absolutely. Because then when you sort of come back and you're like thinking, what did just happen there? What actually
Yeah.
happened? How did that happen? You know, and at the
Yeah.
same,
I'm
it's
slipping.
it's almost as if for however long I was in that there, it's like no, you have no comprehension of time. Time and space don't matter. It's,
It's like it's like someone. I was in a car accident when I was really young, and all I can remember was that time was non-existent. Things were just moving one frame at a time, very, very slow. So absolutely, you made me think of something. Time slipping. I suspect that your mind was somewhere else, but you were in your vehicle, and the people in your cab, the bus, they saw you as the same. My concern is, I wonder when you altered your state, your reservation, your energetic energy around you, it shifted into a period 100 years earlier,
yes, yes,
50 years earlier.
absolutely, absolutely not,
Okay,
absolutely.
kind of wonder what would cause that spontaneous thing to happen
Yeah,
unless you entered. Time to me is not necessarily a piece of film like in a movie. I see it as a deck of cards laid on top of each other.
yeah, yeah,
So sometimes if you not necessarily back up in time as much as you fall into a different time frame.
yeah, yeah,
Like if I'm real careful, I could fall into an age when I was 5 in March. See what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in April now, April, could I fall into a time when I was 13 in the year of my 13th year in the month of March? That I feel can happen. I wondered if you really give it a lot of thought when this happened to you, it was the same time of year. You're not necessarily going to go into a storm or snow situation.
Maybe,
So think of
yeah,
time as a deck of
yeah.
cards.
I mean, all as all as I can say to you, I'll explain the feeling. And it was just as if you. It was just weird because it's just. Obviously, imagine, right? This is set the scenario, the scene here. You're driving down this road and you've got a complete clear road ahead of you, and all as you can see is a stretch of road. Okay,
Yeah.
nothing in front of you. You know, just a complete stretch of road. And then you're driving along, and all of a sudden, I hit a wall. It was just as if I hit a wall, and then everything outside of me just completely changed. Everything, you know, like I said, I was in the middle of a field. I was looking at tractors. I could see haystacks everywhere. I'd got, I mean, I can tell you now, I'd got horses and carts at the side of me. You know, old-fashioned buildings. You
Yeah.
know, just like that.
How did you
And
feel your body? Were you still driving?
yeah, well,
Did you have the inside of your bus with you?
um, everything around me, I knew that I was sitting in my bus, right? I knew that, but anything outside of that was completely gone. Or you know, if you know, I could feel that my body was still.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean? I could feel my body still there, but everything else around me had completely gone. I had no, because obviously you check your mirrors in a bus and you look down the back of the bus. I had no concept of who was sitting on the bus or anything like that.
Wow.
Everything just
That's
gone.
kind of like the movie with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour and Somewhere in Time when he laid on the bed and he got up and everything was different.
Yeah, it was completely peculiar. And then
Wow.
as I'm sort of because I remember Nancy. I mean, I must have looked and turned because I remember seeing it. I remember looking and thinking, "Wow, look at that horse and cart there!" And I remember the haystack.
Really?
Yeah, you know.
That's
So
amazing.
I must have. I obviously were taking notice of the area that I was in, even though I was, you know. But I'd no, and then obviously all of a sudden it was just as if you hit the other side of the wall and you came out, and I was back on the road, and I was, you know,
So I wonder
you know,
if your energy is perceptive to, if we look at a ribbon every day as a piece of film, take a piece of film with each frame,
yeah,
and each frame is a minute, an hour, a day. What if we held the ribbon up and then we let it dip just a minute? So you and I are talking and what our perception of time moving forward. Okay?
yeah,
All right. Now, someone in the future is is living their life and there's a dip in the film, okay? And
yeah,
they're dipping it down. And some reason they slip into our field.
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe,
I
yeah,
mean, because it makes sense um, that a ribbon has a dent in it and you pass through, and so your perception level is greater than most people's. You and I could be flittering through ribbons of time, present and past, without actually acknowledging and knowing that's happening. But you were set to be able to do that. I wonder if anybody else in the bus went click. I feel something different,
yeah,
because it
yeah,
wouldn't be everywhere. It would be only when time had that dip. Like we'd be flowing and living our life and not knowing we're dipping down in time because it's a ribbon and not a straight cemented road. I
yeah,
wonder if that's what happened to you.
maybe. It's
That's wonderful.
uh,
How long do you think you were gone? How long were you absent from the moment?
yeah. I mean, it seemed as though I'd been gone. You know what, Nancy? When I think about it, it seemed as though I'd been gone for like 10 years or 20 years, but probably
Oh, no.
in reality, I'd probably only been gone 20 seconds. It maybe even less than that, because time, it went that. When how can I explain it to you?
So if you had
The
10 years over there, were you going to bed at night, getting up in the morning? I mean, how long did it feel, and what were you thinking of when you were experiencing 10 years? This is fascinating. I've never heard this before.
it was just as if I was. It was just as if I was seeing what had been there like 100 years, all in the space of 10 seconds. If you,
Right.
you know what I mean, Nancy? It was
Yeah.
the information that I absorbed was I can't quantify it because it was so much. It was it was
Wow.
just as if you had been there, and I do remember physically thinking to myself now. I remember thinking, God, this must be. I thought I must. This is this. What I'm seeing here is over like 100 years ago. So it was. But the information, because as I said, I remember the buildings, I remember the haystacks. I can even remember there was three horses in a field out on the left, and there was a horse and cart. I mean, I can remember, the detail, and and
Wow.
and when you remember the detail of something, it, to me, I must have looked but in reality, it was a split second. It was just, I'd have got it. The amount of absorbing energy
Wow.
that you could get, or the why I experienced it was, you know, I wish I could absorb things like that in reality, because you know what I mean.
Well, what you're
Then I wouldn't need to have 2 cups of coffee on the go
cup
because
of
I know where
coffee.
they was.
If my
You
husband
know?
were in here, he'd be laughing because, oh, you're just so funny. Two thoughts came to mind. I want to real quick. I have a expression when I yell out, and like I shared with you, I have a two-story house. It's taller. Anyway, it's a little bigger, and so losing things is easier now in this house. And I've lost a few things, but I used to do it in Tucson too. And I'd yell at him. I go, "Lost the glasses," and he stops everything. He gets up and he looks around. He says, do you remember where you saw him last? And the trouble is I can't see well enough to see my glasses, you know. And then I'll say, lost the cup, and he'll go to the garage. He'll look in the microwave. He'll look in the refrigerator. I put a cup of coffee in the refrigerator, and it's all the time. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted, shoot, I, so this is my thought. One day, my son's an engineer, and he's in high level engineering design. He's kind of like, some days says, "Oh, your son's a rocket scientist." I went, "Oh, yeah, I guess he is." So he's in kind of like new design and not like a house construction. It's like a creative. And one day I was sharing with him how I have waking visions of things yet to happen. And so I'm just giving you some thoughts because I think if we can go down in time, which I've done, then these waking dreams means my time, the ribbon, is going up. Because I've had lots, it's just when the screen froze with my
Yeah.
mouth open, my arm up. So this is what I told him one day that I saw, I had perception, because I really don't know what I'm doing here. My perception was I was a woman in a kitchen, and I'm light hair, and I feel like I'm slim. I hope I'm slim and tall. How about that? Not short and I mean, everybody wants to be slimmer, but I felt like I was younger in a kitchen, and I had a wall of glass, and my perception was if this was future, and it would be wonderful if it were me, because that would prove survival and reincarnation. I don't know, but then I started getting other visions and different times, and one day I was talking to somebody. All of a sudden, I saw myself look out of a porthole of a ship in space, and my son is out the window, and of course I don't have a tow-haired son, and I'm looking at I'm on a different planet, and I went, oh, what a good plot for a story. And then I realized that I had too many memories of that moment, that I remember the boy looking at this blob, and it was about the size of an elephant, but it looked like a mushroom upside down. It was really odd, I mean, a mushroom without the stem sitting on the ground moving
Yeah.
around. And I remember thinking, ooh, what a strange creature. It was dark. It wasn't very forested. And this creature had a family. And so this planet had these kinds of life forms on it. And I remember thinking, well, I wonder why I'm getting that. But if time is not a flat line, and if time is a ribbon, or time is a cartwheel of like a wagon wheel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm in the middle, I can access time anywhere. So what we need to do is, I told my son, if I can create a thought of, if I can create a moment where I'm in time, and I see something, design it and give it to my son to invent it now, and not 50 or 100 years from now. Or is that when we do our predictions? Like I see grandchildren yet to be born in my family, and everybody says, oh, 2012, we're all sinking in the ocean, we're having all this happen. Well, we've already had that happen. December 26, 2004, or 24th December. That was our you know, when you talk about Armageddon issues, those people in Haiti also thought Armageddon
Yeah,
happened. 250,000 drowned it.
yeah,
Drowned. I mean, that we've already been through that. So I think from this point on, everything moves a lot slower. But I see so many people surviving and moving and creating life that I know we're getting through this. You know, we
yeah,
are
yeah,
getting through this
yeah,
time. So I think to myself, okay, if we can do that, then let's relax and think what it feels like to access time. And let's pull some of those inventions forward to our time down. And let's create those things, move our civilization faster. So remote viewing, we've started remote viewing, accessing time, getting in time at night versus day, doesn't matter. Time could be accessed as though we're slipping in a ribbon, like your time that you float
yeah,
through,
yeah,
that ribbon had an arc in it, and your bus entered one side of the loop, experienced 10 seconds worth of a different era, and they came out on the other side. And only because you're very intuitive. I think our perception level is so high that when we enter one of these ribbons, I think that that is creating us to experience life somewhere else.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now, the
definitely.
only thing is, if someone on the other at time is highly perceptive,
And can
do
see
they
me.
see you
Exactly,
point? That's
exactly.
why
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I think is happening when I have a perception of future.
Well,
Is someone else is there with that high perception, and I blended with them in
God,
their time.
how scary for them for there to see all of a sudden a 72 or a 100-seater bus sitting in the middle of a field.
I hope it was bright red, two-story.
Yeah,
Was it bright red
bright,
two-story?
bright orange,
Orange?
double-decker bus sitting in the middle of a field, and
I think are you kidding?
that would really,
That is really funny.
it would, wouldn't it? Gosh, gosh. But
Wonder how we could create that to have more often, and you wave, or
yeah,
you get the name
yeah,
press
yeah,
to move time.
definitely, definitely.
I think that sounds like a good movie. Anybody listening to this is
Yes,
today's date is April 14th, 2012. Call us up.
yeah, that's it. John and Nancy, John and
I
Nancy.
want a writer.
Copyright before anybody takes a takes a stab at it. But yeah, definitely,
That's a really good story. I like that.
definitely.
That's a good humor statement. But I think that's how time I thought looked to me like a wagon wheel, and I'm in the center of the wagon wheel, and I'm witnessing someone's life, and I can access it any time on that wheel. But I think it's also I can move over from that person in that life to someone in their life to another wagon wheel, and I access it there also. So I have a vision of time being looped all around us all the time. But I kind of like the idea of a loop with a dent in it where you can access it anytime. Like you access the past. So have I, but I've also accessed the future. When people do predictions, I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Or they're traveling their own time.
yeah,
The only thing is I can't figure out how I travel time, but I've done predictions for people well long past my own living. So I must be accessing their time in the future.
yeah, yeah. Well, you must be going a lot. Perhaps there's some. Perhaps you another way. Look, perhaps you hijack people's future. Perhaps
I
you.
had hijack on their time.
Yes,
Put the
hijack
roller
them
skates on.
time. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah. So I think we've been chatting now for a good 40 minutes, Nancy. So I think
Say goodbye to the
yeah,
recording. Goodbye,
yeah.
everybody. We'll talk to
Goodbye.
you later.
We'll talk to you later. Okay then. Bye bye. Bye bye.